Los Angeles, city of angels, Hollywood, beaches, palm trees, but spread across 500 square miles of urban landscape is something else entirely. The birthplace of the Bloods and Crips, over 450 active gangs, an estimated 45,000 gang members. And unlike Chicago's corporate hierarchies, LA operates on a completely different model. Decentralized, fragmented, hundreds of independent sets operating like small businesses rather than corporations. And controlling this chaos from behind prison walls, the Mexican Mafia, La M. Today we're mapping Los Angeles gang territory using law enforcement data, economic analysis, and territorial intelligence. This is the city where American gang culture was born, and the economic model that emerged here has influenced every major city in America. This is street economics. Welcome to Los Angeles. LA's gang map looks nothing like Chicago's. Where Chicago has 3 major power structures controlling clear territories, Los Angeles has over 450 gangs operating in a patchwork of neighborhoods, each controlling just a few blocks. But patterns emerge when we analyze the data. Red zones, Bloods-affiliated sets, primarily concentrated in South LA, Compton, and Inglewood. But here's what's different. Bloods isn't one organization. It's an alliance of over 100 independent sets. The Bounty Hunter Bloods, the Brims, the Pirates, each operates autonomously. Blue zones, Crips-affiliated sets, even more fragmented than the Bloods. Over 200 different Crip sets across LA County. The Rollins 60s, Hoover Criminals, 8-Tray Gangsters, each controls their own territory, and they don't necessarily get along with other Crip sets. In Chicago, you have cooperation within gangs and conflict between gangs. In LA, you have conflict everywhere. Crip sets war with other Crip sets. Blood sets war with other Blood sets. It's not tribal, it's territorial. Gold zones, Latino gangs. This is where LA's structure gets more organized. 18th Street Gang, the largest gang in LA with an estimated 15,000 members. MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha, 10,000 members across Southern California. And dozens of traditional East LA gangs like Florencia 13, Maravilla, and White Fence. But the real power? The Mexican Mafia, La M. They don't control street territory directly. They control the gangs that control territory. From inside California state prisons, they tax every Latino gang in Southern California. You operate in LA, you pay La M, or you die. This is fundamentally different from Chicago. LA isn't corporate, it's feudal. Let's break down how this actually works. Traditional black gangs, Bloods and Crips, operate as neighborhood sets. A set might control 4 to 10 blocks. They have an OG, original gangster, who's usually been in the gang 15 to 30 years. Below him are younger members, from teens to guys in their 30s. But there's no board of directors, no regional coordinators. The Rollins 60s Crips in Hyde Park don't answer to anyone outside their neighborhood. They make their own decisions, form their own alliances, start their own wars. This creates extreme violence but also resilience. You can't decapitate LA's gang structure like you can in Chicago because there's no head. Take out one OG, the set continues. Take out an entire set, the surrounding sets expand into that territory. Now, Latino gangs, different structure. 18th Street operates more like a traditional gang. They have a leadership council. They coordinate across neighborhoods. They've expanded internationally. 18th Street sets exist in Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras. But even they answer to someone. La M, the Mexican Mafia. Approximately 140 made members, all serving life sentences in California prisons. And from behind bars, they control an estimated 50,000 Latino gang members on the streets. Here's how it works. La M taxes drug sales. Every Latino gang in Southern California pays tribute, usually 10 to 30% of drug revenue, to La M. In exchange, La M settles disputes, prevents unnecessary wars that bring heat from law enforcement, and provides protection in prison. If you refuse to pay, La M orders a green light. That means every Latino gang member has authorization to kill you. There's nowhere to hide in Southern California. This prison-based control structure is unique to California. It doesn't exist in Chicago, New York, or anywhere else at this scale, and it's incredibly effective. LAME has maintained power for over 60 years, despite operating entirely from inside maximum security prisons. LA's underground economy operates differently than Chicago's. Total estimated annual revenue, $4 to $5 billion, higher than Chicago despite similar gang member numbers. Why? Port of Los Angeles. The Port of LA is the largest port in the Western Hemisphere. Over 9 million shipping containers pass through annually, and a small percentage of those containers carry cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamine from Mexican cartels. LA's gangs don't just sell drugs, they're distribution networks. Drugs arrive at the port or across the Mexican border. Latino gangs, controlled by LAME, receive shipments and distribute to wholesale buyers. Those buyers include black gangs, who then sell retail in their neighborhoods. Revenue breakdown, drug distribution, 75% of total underground economy. This is higher than Chicago because LA is a logistics hub. Drugs flow through LA to the rest of the country. Weapons trafficking, 10%. Again, proximity to the border matters. Firearms purchased legally in Arizona and Nevada are trafficked back to California and sold at 200 to 400% markup. Extortion and protection, 8%. Targeting small businesses, illegal gambling, prostitution networks. Human trafficking, 5%. One of LA's darkest realities. Gangs control portions of the sex trafficking trade, particularly along corridors like Figueroa Street. Other operations, 2%. Everything from credit card fraud to identity theft to stolen vehicles shipped to Mexico. But here's what makes LA's economy unique. Entertainment industry crossover. Gang culture birthed West Coast rap. NWA, Snoop Dogg, The Game, Kendrick Lamar, Nipsey Hussle, all connected to LA gang culture. And that cultural export generates legitimate revenue while reinforcing gang identity. Record labels scout talent in neighborhoods. Artists maintain gang affiliations. Music videos are filmed on actual gang territory with actual members. The line between entertainment and underground economy is thin. This creates a feedback loop. Gang culture produces entertainment. Entertainment glorifies gang culture. Young people join gangs. The cycle continues. LA's violence pattern is different from Chicago's. Chicago has border wars, conflicts over territory boundaries between organizations. LA has neighborhood feuds, multi-generational conflicts between specific sets that have been killing each other for 40, 50, even 60 years. Example, the Rollin 60s Crips versus the 8-Tray Gangster Crips. Both Crip sets, both in South LA, both wearing blue, been at war since the 1970s, hundreds dead over 5 decades. Why? Territory, respect, revenge. The original cause has been lost to history. What remains is multi-generational trauma and ongoing retaliation. Or Florencia 13 versus the East Coast Crips, a Latino gang versus a black gang. This conflict in the 2000s became so violent that federal prosecutors charged Florencia 13 under RICO statutes for racial hate crimes, systematically targeting black residents to push them out of neighborhoods. The hottest conflict zones right now, South Los Angeles, multiple Crip sets warring with each other while also fighting blood sets. Blocks change hands regularly. 2025 saw over 300 gang-related shootings in South LA alone. Despite what people think, Compton's gang problem hasn't disappeared. Bloods versus Crips, Piru sets versus other blood sets, and Compton gangs now connected to larger MS-13 and 18th Street networks. East LA, MS-13 expanding territory, creating conflict with traditional Sureño gangs. The violence has federal attention, ICE and FBI targeting MS-13 leadership specifically. San Fernando Valley, often overlooked, but the valley has significant gang presence. Pacoima, North Hollywood, Van Nuys, all have active gang territories and ongoing conflicts. What's striking about LA violence? It's normalized. In Chicago, gang shootings make headlines. In LA, unless it's particularly egregious or affects civilians, it barely registers. The city has become desensitized to gang violence because it's been constant for 60 years. LAPD's approach to gangs has evolved dramatically. In the 1980s and 90s, aggressive suppression, crash units, community resources against street hoodlums, heavy enforcement, mass arrests, harsh sentences. This led to mass incarceration but didn't reduce gang presence. In the 2000s, gang injunctions, civil court orders prohibiting known gang members from associating with each other or being in certain areas. These were partially effective but raised civil rights concerns. 2010s to present, community intervention plus targeted enforcement. Programs like LA's gang reduction and youth development focus on prevention. Meanwhile, law enforcement targets leadership and violent actors specifically. Federal involvement has increased. FBI and DEA target the connection between LA gangs and Mexican cartels. ICE focuses on MS-13 and 18th Street's transnational networks. ATF tracks weapons trafficking. But here's the challenge LA faces that Chicago doesn't. You can't decapitate a decentralized structure. In Chicago, arrest the top GD leaders, you disrupt operations. In LA, arrest the OG of the Rollin' 60s. Another OG steps up. The set continues. Arrest 100 gang members, they're replaced by 100 new recruits. The only strategy that's shown long-term success? Economic development. When neighborhoods get investment, jobs, education, housing, gang recruitment drops. South LA neighborhoods that received significant investment in the 2010s saw gang violence decrease 30 to 40%. But that requires sustained political will and funding, and it's slow, generational, not immediate. La M presents a unique challenge. How do you disrupt an organization that operates from inside prisons? Federal prosecutors have tried. Multiple RICO cases, supermax isolation. Nothing has broken La M's control, because as long as Latino gang members end up in California prisons, La M can enforce compliance. Some experts argue the only solution is prison reform. Reduce incarceration rates, reduce gang recruitment, reduce La M's power base. But that's a decades-long project. This is Los Angeles, $4 to $5 billion in underground economy. 45,000 gang members across 450-plus organizations operating in a fragmented, decentralized system that has persisted for 60 years. Los Angeles birthed American gang culture. The Crips formed in 1969. The Bloods emerged in response in 1972, and what started in South LA spread to every major American city. Chicago's gangs, influenced by LA's model. New York, same. LA exported gang culture the way Silicon Valley exported tech culture. But underneath the entertainment industry glamorization is a different reality. Life expectancy in South LA neighborhoods with heavy gang presence, 71 years. Just 20 miles west in Santa Monica, 84 years. That's a 13-year life expectancy gap. Homicide is the leading cause of death for black males aged 15 to 34 in South LA. Not car accidents, not disease, homicide. And the cycle is self-reinforcing. Neighborhoods with gang presence struggle to attract business investment. Without jobs, young people turn to underground economy. They join gangs. They have children. Those children grow up in the same environment. The cycle continues. This isn't inevitable. It's a policy choice. LA has proven that targeted investment reduces gang activity. But investment requires sustained political will, and that's been inconsistent. So the map remains: red zones, blue zones, gold zones, hundreds of sets, thousands of young people recruited annually, and a $5 billion underground economy that continues because the conditions that created it persist. This is Street Economics, understanding the numbers behind the streets. Subscribe for next week's analysis.